Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 92 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we are coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We have another great organization this week as we highlight the Gaston County Jaycees. Is that actually right, or is it Jaycees of Gaston County?
Gaston County Jaycees.
Okay, sorry, I should have asked that beforehand. We have Holden Clark and Andrea Grenier with us today. Holden is the current president of the organization here locally, and Andrea is past president of the local group and also past president of the North Carolina Jaycees. Is that correct?
Yes.
So as we were talking beforehand, we have some serious JC royalty with us here today. So Holden and Andrea, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to get to it like normal, and maybe since you're closest, Holden, I'll just start with you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself or anything you'd like to share.
Sure. So I am Holden Clark. I've been practicing law here in Gaston County for about 10 years now. I own a small firm here, Hometown Counsel, mostly focus on domestic work.
Okay.
Born and raised here in Gaston County. Both my set of grandparents are here, so this has always been home for us. And when I got done with college, it was where I wanted to put my roots down.
Okay. Very good. Andrea, what about you?
Same. So you don't really get too many people that are born and raised in Gaston County. Born and raised. Both of my grandparents, all of my family's here as well. I am currently the scholarship and donation specialist at Gaston College. Right. Been involved in the community for years, and the Jaycees is just a passion, and so glad to help out the community.
So before we get into more specifics about the Jaycees, maybe, Andrea, how did you what got you involved in the Jaycees? And I'll ask you the same question.
So in 2009, I didn't have a job, and my cousin, Chris Dellinger, was like, hey, why don't you come with me to the Jaycees? And I've heard about them throughout the years because my aunt and uncle were involved. I believe they were involved with you and Joel. And so I went to a meeting, and that was the end of the story. But the funny thing is, like, I started out, don't leave my side. Don't let me do anything. Like, stand with me. Don't talk to me. And then 6 months to a year later, like, I was on the board and have held every position since then. I did. I drank the Kool-Aid.
Listen, that's what it takes, right, for things to happen and organizations to thrive. You have to have individuals like that. Holden, what about you? How did you get involved with the Jaycees?
It was actually the back-to-school shopping program that we do. I got invited to go to that, and once I went out and saw what they were actually doing, I said, well, I can't sit by and just not go with these folks anymore. They're a lot of fun, number one, and they're doing really good things. So I was JC adjacent for a little while and kind of dipped my toes in the water, and then finally I said, okay, I'm going to join. And then shortly after I joined, they're like, here's a whole bunch of things you can do. So that's how I got really involved in.
That's exactly how it happens, right?
Yep.
So this question is for both of you. So, I mean, I have the luxury of being, again, a Gaston County born and raised as well. Naomi's the only one that's not that way here in this group. So I know about the Jaycees, my involvement with the chamber and just community in general over the years. I'm very familiar with it, but we might have some listeners who aren't. So just kind of, what is the Gaston County Jaycees? And let's start there, if you don't mind.
I'm going to let Andrea do this because she does the best recitation of the history.
Okay, very good.
So we have a little saying that says, we are the young professional, ages 21 to 40, young professional organization in Gaston County. We give our members the opportunity to build their leadership skills, network, build friends for life, and give back to the community. So
is it fair to say, I mean, it is, compared to some other organizations, it is more of a professional organization.
Yes.
Is it fair to say, too, that it's part of the Gaston Business Association, or is it a completely separate
organization? It is completely separate,
okay.
Yes. We have our own umbrella under the North Carolina Jaycees,
gotcha.
Under the United States Jaycees, and then also JCI International. So we have chapters in, Croatia and Japan and Ghana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's more than Gaston County,
yes.
Right? All right, so let's talk about some of the initiatives, right? So that's the big thing that I think our listeners like to hear, and frankly, I like to hear maybe the day in the life, and then what are the kind of things that are going on throughout the year for the Gaston County Jaycees? Again, that's throwing that out for both of you.
Yeah, so the Jaycees meet monthly on the last Tuesday of every month. Fourth Tuesday of every month. So sometimes that fifth one rolls around, and we get together usually for about 2 to 3 hours. We have a speaker come out, some type of professional speaker, or someone who is doing something in the community that we as a group need to know about. On top of that, we also have some signature events that we do throughout the year. The one that most people are probably familiar with is going to be the City of Gastonia Christmas Parade, which is just a huge passion project for a lot of us. It's something that, as the year goes by, we just look forward to getting done. And as I talked about earlier, we also do the back-to-school shopping, which is an amazing program to be a part of, and there's nothing more rewarding than being part of that program. This also we've got coming up next month is our Distinguished Service Awards, where we recognize folks in the community who are doing various levels of community service, to include folks that are receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award named for Duke Kimbrell. And so we're really excited about that coming up. And over the years, we've done things like 5Ks and beer fests and tons of other things, and we're hoping to get back to doing that now that COVID is washed away a little bit.
Yeah, the word that we don't like to say around here. It's like the Harry Potter character we don't like to say, the word name you can't speak.
As long as we don't say it 2 more times, it's like Beetlejuice.
Okay, good. Very good. So, Andrea, from your perspective and your involvement over somewhat extended period of time and the Kool-Aid drinker, so to speak, I mean, how would you describe your time, your involvement, other initiatives? I think, in fact, I'm trying to think the first time that I was personally involved in the Gastonia Christmas Parade. I don't know if the Jaycees have done it always, but I walked as an Indian guide when I was a little kid. I remember struggling to keep up with everybody walking on Franklin Boulevard. So yeah, just kind of your experience and any other initiatives or things you'd like to talk about.
Yeah. So you definitely get out what you put into it. So if you, again, drink the Kool-Aid, you really do get that sense of community, and you build family and you build connections. You can call on friends for anything that you need. GSM has been a wonderful supporter. Being involved in like the state level and the national level, it's so awesome to see, 400 chapters across the United States coming together and sharing ideas. And in Mississippi, they did a shoebox Christmas parade during COVID, and that was just so interesting. So then there's a guide where you can go and look that up and just see what they did. And so it's really awesome just to share ideas and to hear other people's stories from across the world.
Am I correct that there was a time period where Jaycees we're doing a haunted house here?
We did, yeah. That was back in the 90s and early 2000s, I think.
Were you even born then?
I was. I age out in
I may have been. I may have
days.
participated in that once or twice. Yeah. Jeez.
That was at our old headquarters building.
So obviously, I'm assuming the only one in the room that has officially aged out of
almost
of direct involvement.
I'm almost there.
in the Jaycees. So this is both of you. There, I did it again. I hit this like every other episode.
It's the best sound effect.
Yeah, it is. It's like a Star Wars stormtrooper shooting something. So looking back at your time, of all the initiatives, the things you've been involved with, the things that Jaycees have done, can you think of a success or an impact that you've seen, some kind of anecdotal story maybe of something that, wow, that's the reason we do this, or something that you could share, both of you could share about your time with the Jaycees?
So I have 2. So our back to school project, it was just to hear some of these kids' stories and what they've struggled through, and it's very touching. And then to get to buy them supplies and buy them clothes, and then one little boy asked me, he's like, I really need to buy some underwear for my little brother, and it's just like, it just touches your heart. You're like, yeah, I mean, definitely whatever you need.
Not the toys or stuff, it's not the selfish stuff.
Right,
it's
exactly.
The real needs.
Right,
yeah.
He needed that, and so we definitely try to get with whatever they need. And the other one is the Distinguished Service Awards. It is one of my favorite projects. I think I've chaired it 10 years. It's just recognizing our public service, our EMS, our firefighters, our police, and all the work that they do. We do a teacher and a student, just thank you for your service, basically. Right. And then the Lifetime Civic Achievement Award, I mean, those are just people in our community that go above and beyond always. And so it's always awesome to recognize them.
Yeah, I think Holden mentioned that's the Duke Kimbrell Award, correct?
It is,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, if anyone has spent any time doing anything in the community in Gaston County, they become aware of the philanthropy
right.
and commitment to Gaston County of the Kimbrell family, and so that's really just so appropriate, right? To be called after Mr. Kimbrell. Holden, what about you? How would you answer that question, or maybe even most proud of accomplishing? Even, I mean, that's kind of another way to word that question.
We just did this event. It hadn't been a month yet, but we did a program with a group called Upward Bound. That was the name of it, right? And they are a group here that are taking students as they start in high school and following them through and helping them mature and go through those issues that teenagers are going to go through. And they're coming from families that need the extra resources. And there was these two folks that are these mentors, and to hear that they're getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning because some of the children are working third shift jobs before they go to school, and the things that they're doing. We just did a simple etiquette program with them over dinner as a graduation program for them, because all of them were getting ready to grow. And at the end of it, we heard these students that their names were being recognized in the 17, 18, 19 different schools and scholarships that they've been accepted into. There was nothing more impactful than listening to these folks that had taken them from the beginning and are setting them off on their path. And these are kids that didn't really have an opportunity without those two folks. Nothing more rewarding than sitting in that room and being part of that.
So that's the point, right? It's nice to be able to see that impact and get that feedback. It's also something I've learned. You said it earlier, Holden, when you were talking about kind of your view of the Jaycees or how you got involved. It's okay to have fun too when you're doing this stuff, right? And because that's what gets volunteers engaged. I mean, otherwise, if you don't, am I messing something up here? So, how does a couple maybe just specific questions. I mean, how many people are currently involved with the Jaycees? Is a membership thing, or how many members do you currently have? And has that something did affect that?
Yeah, I did.
Unfortunately,
That's
every
two.
other.
That's
That's just two.
now.
We're done
Yes.
with it, right?
We can't say it again.
We have 20 members currently.
Okay.
As every organization, it ebbs and flows. When I was president the first time in 2013, we had 50. When John Lowry, a nice supporter of the Jaycees, when he was president in the 80s, they had 2,000. Or maybe 2,000 across the United States, or North Carolina.
Yeah.
North
okay.
Carolina, I'm sorry. But no, I mean, hundreds of members. And so we're at 20. And so we're desperately looking to seek for that 21 to 40-year-olds to come back into Gaston County and join our.
Yeah, listen, I've been involved so many organizations over the years, and I don't know of any organization that hasn't been impacted.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
I don't want to negatively, I'm not sure that's the right word, but just they were impacted in membership. And sometimes it's membership, sometimes it's just involvement.
Right.
And even the recent example I can think of is my Rotary Club. Still got a lot of members, but the weekly involvement has dropped off.
Right.
Sure. Just the number of people that make it out to our meetings. In fact, church is even the same for me, right? We have so many people still online even now. So it's just an unusual time. So maybe this will be a good time for this, and for us to be talking about an organization like Jaycees. I do think there are still young people out there who are looking for what to do and how to do it, how to be involved. I know when I was relatively young and that Jaycees age, I didn't know what to do,
Right.
And so I just, at some point, I just felt compelled that there's more. Right? There's got to be more than just coming in here every day and putting air conditioners in, so to speak. And that kind of started me on my path to the Community Foundation and Jaycees and United Way and all these other things, over time.
The Jaycees, it's a service-based organization, but it's designed to help us make those connections and get involved. And I think when you're 23, 24, and you're just getting out of college and you don't really know where you're going, let somebody else who's already made the mistakes in life be that mentor for you.
Oh, absolutely.
and we always think, I don't need a mentor, I know everything. And I think there is some predisposition for Gen Z to have that kind of mindset. But, a lot of these folks have been through those things and those challenges of getting into the workforce. I love that. She is absolutely disclaiming Gen Z. She's like, she is not.
That's funny.
But
I agree with you. Yeah,
that's one of the things that we want to do is we want to draw that crowd out and say, look, the world doesn't exist online. It is within communications and relationships between people to people that are physical and real and not just a digital world. Mm-hmm. And that's what community is really going to have to be based on, is getting people back out into the world and feeling comfortable doing that again.
Yeah, if digital distraction, I'm not sure that's the right word, was an opportunity before March of 2020, it's really become that next 2 years really just exasperated that, right? I mean, we saw it even here. We were lucky that we never closed. I mean, we were able to keep working, but it was just a weird time. One question I didn't ask, how long has the Jaycees been here in Gaston County? Do you know?
Andrea's been president the whole time.
That's what they joke. They say I'm 100.
So it's a dictatorship.
It is, right?
Pretty much. We were thinking about changing the title, but in this environment, we just didn't want to go there.
So in North Carolina, we're on our 88th president. So I think we're at like 76. I think you're the 76th president.
Which is what I was aspiring to be.
Right.
Wow.
I didn't want to be 76.
No
Nothing important.
Yeah. Look, I don't think I'm sure I had seen that or been told that somewhere along the line, but I did not remember that. So if somebody wants to get in, who are you looking for? Business professionals, people just out of kids. I say kids. I mean, anybody just graduating college is a kid to me. Sorry. I mean, like an example, I've got a son who graduated from college last year, a daughter who graduated college 5 days ago. Mm-hmm. So who are you looking for, to get involved?
That's a great question. We recently had this discussion, and it really is everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Particularly in Gaston County. Gaston County has such a rich history of community. Dates all the way back to when folks were in mills working side by side and tough jobs, and we're starting to lose that as the community grows. And so we're looking at, not only the folks that generally fall into a quote-unquote professional job, but also folks that are just trying to get by, folks that need to find an identity, folks that don't feel like they have a place to go. We want to see single mothers feel like they can come out, single fathers feel like they can come out.
Bring your kids.
Bring
definitely.
Your kids.
They're welcome.
We want to be open and inviting to everyone because we feel like everyone needs the opportunity to move up and to have an opportunity to be connected to their community.
Would you add anything to that, Andrea?
Just based on the different trainings that I've been to, there's a thing called the ABC profession. And so, you just go down, it's like A, accountant, B, banker, C, coffee shop barista, whatever. And so you have these different professions. Anybody is welcome. And, my financial advisor, he's a JC. So I bought my first house from somebody who's a JC. Like, it's just to have absolutely. That network and that community.
So let's jump ahead. Looking ahead to the next, that classic question is 5 to 10 years down the road, but not necessarily the case. This day and time, it's next month, it seems like. So, what's ahead for the Gaston County Jaycees, or then maybe the Jaycees in general, but, here locally, and anything you guys can share there? Any big plans, or is it still recovery mode, so to speak?
Recovery is an okay word for it. I think we're in a rebuilding mode right now. We're taking this opportunity to refocus and to really look at how we best impact the community, because there's so many resources, so many groups that are doing things, and if we can be a conduit or we can reconnect with those folks and be partners with them, that's our biggest thing. We have a member, Kendrick McDowell, who is over our community outreach, and he has done just a phenomenal job going out and finding partners and groups that aren't necessarily supported as well in the community, and saying, okay, how can we give you just bodies and folks who can get out there and help you meet your mission? And that's, it's programs we haven't helped before, but it's great to be involved and let them know that they're going to be supported in doing whatever it is that they want it to change in this community. That's where we're going to be there, even if it's just to lend a helping hand.
Cool. Very good. Andrea, would you add anything to that?
So like in the past 70s and 80s, Jaycees was a little bit more political. And the Jaycees were instrumental in getting liquor by the drink in Gaston County, or we were instrumental nationally getting seatbelt laws.
Good thing.
Yeah, seatbelt laws or street lights, stuff like that. So big, huge initiatives. And so it's kind of cool. The Jaycees, we have I think it's 511 or 811. It's the national crisis mental health number, and we were instrumental in helping getting that. So just to be a part of that, just to say that the Jaycees did that, I really hope that there's more initiatives that we can get involved in. What those are, I don't know.
Okay. Well, listen, everything is changing.
Right.
I'm involved United Way, Community Foundation, my Rotary Club. Yeah, we're so different than when I started with those organizations. Back a few years ago, back before Naomi was born, when I was first getting involved in the community. So this is a question I like, and you both have already shared a lot of reasons, but remember, this is a podcast about Gaston County and the good things happening here. So maybe, Andrea, start with you on this. Why would you say Gaston County is better in general, just because the Jaycees is here?
That's a tough one.
I'm so glad he started with you. That gives me time to think on it.
Just honestly, the sense of community.
Okay.
It helps you with that network. It helps you with professionalism. Really don't know how to answer this question. It brings the 21 to 41-year-olds back to Gaston County.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And then, I know we have our 2040 initiative.
Yes.
I think Pastor Ray Hardy asked me to serve on one of the smaller committees.
The team meeting, yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, yeah, you need
I'm on the Gaston Works team. So.
Right. You need somebody under 40 or close to 40.
Oh, no question. These old fogies need some help.
Right. And so that, that's kind of cool to be able to even be asked to be
absolutely
step to the plate to be asked. So
yeah, is it fair to say that it opens doors to
exactly, it does opportunities
that you might not have otherwise? I mean, that happened for me when I started getting involved with the community, and just the things I saw helped accomplish, but also opened opportunities that I didn't plan on.
Right, exactly.
Right? That wasn't the point.
Right.
But that's what happens. Mm-hmm. So Andrea had to go first. Oh, did you get time to?
Oh, it was so helpful when you were answering too. I was thankful that both of you went first. You hit the nail on the head though when it comes to being involved is how you get opportunities to have your voice heard, and the best thing that you can ever do is just stand up and say, "I'll help." Mm-hmm. And having that group here in Gaston County, that we don't have an agenda, right? The agenda is just to help 20 to 40-year-olds be the best that they can be back in Gaston County, reinvest in the community, be part of something that is bigger than yourself. But you don't get to really have that voice unless you're out there doing those things and saying, yeah, I'm just as committed and I'm showing it by my actions. And that's what we really want to see the Jaycees be a part of, is standing up and saying, this is what I envision being a part of in 2040 or 2050, 2060, whenever we finally get laid to rest here in Gaston County. So it's nice to be a part of that.
Yeah, the 2040, I don't remember what episode it was, but we had those guys on too to talk about that vision, and that really is getting ready to crank up on, all the groundwork has been laid. So the real work is starting to happen with that. So anything you're involved with, any events coming up soon? I mean, we're recording this, what's today, May 17th. This will probably mid-June is when this episode will be released. Anything coming up soon, or is it like a lot of things? Summer kind of take a little time off in the summer for events or anything?
So our Distinguished Service Award is June 7th, so that'll probably be missed.
After, but it'll be after this.
But our back to school shopping is coming up in August, and Kendrick had brought the idea. I'm not sure if we've had a chance to discuss this, but having
breaking news.
You're getting ready to be voluntold on something. I have a feeling. Having
the Irwin Centers, the children that we normally take, having them participate in this etiquette class or this class that we presented, and just kind of do a little bit more with them, and then maybe get some sponsors so we can have more children or more opportunity for them to get the materials that they need, because with price of inflation, they can get one piece of clothes, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, we want to make sure that they're successful for their year. So
that's a good point. We haven't really even touched on it, because that's another thing that's impacting everything, especially organizations like yours, nonprofits. Just, the cost of doing anything has just skyrocketed. So if you could, what's the greatest need that you have currently as an organization? Is it membership? Is there something you could point out that just immediately comes to mind?
Yeah, membership would probably be the biggest thing. You can do a lot of things by just having the bodies there to go do it. Right. Cost tends to work itself out. We have so many generous supporters of the Jaycees, and we're so thankful for them. A lot of them are former JC members, but just getting folks out to be able to, because there does get volunteer exhaustion every once in a while. But if I could take anything from this, it would, if you could just come to the back to school shopping.
Okay.
You're 20 to 40 years old, you will be bought hook, line, and sinker. You won't change your mind. You'll be at all the events from then on, and you'll just be a JC. It just happens that way.
Okay, very good. So obviously, before we finish, we're going to shift gears here a little bit, but before we finish, we'll make sure we swing back and make sure our listeners know how to find more information out, where to go, even maybe where, can somebody just show up for a meeting?
Absolutely.
And check it out?
Theoretically, as long as they know where we're going to be. That's we like to move around the county. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll cover that. So is there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked, or anything you'd like to share before we shift gears here quickly, briefly?
I think we covered everything.
Okay, very good. So we have a few questions that we like to ask that are kind of Gaston County related. What have you done? All right, so for the audio out there, we on the video, Naomi has completely botched this video episode, and she will never hear the end of this from me. This is terrific. I wish I had the video. I wish I was videoing her fixing the camera, because I'm sure right now on YouTube, if you're hearing this, it's just going to be a screen that says Gaston's great. Is that right? So much for
I thought for sure I broke the camera.
So much for Naomi being a young professional in the Jaycees. I'm kidding. So we're going to call this I come up with a different name every week for this. We're going to call this we have JC royalty with the speed round of questions.
Oh, gosh.
All right? Is that good? So,
yes.
And I'm going to start with the royalty. So that means Holden has time to prepare.
Okay.
Since I don't think y'all have seen these questions. So, Andrea, the first question is, what is your favorite Tony's ice cream flavor?
I'm a chocolate through and through.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's kind of boring, but I'm the same.
I know,
way.
I'm the same.
Holden?
Although I can't eat dairy anymore, it was grape. Always grape.
You know what? That is grape, and was it black cherry? Those are two surprisingly. In fact, when we had Pat Mumford and Steve Behavior on here, we did a live taste testing
Nice.
and of Tony's ice cream, and we had lemon, grape, black cherry, and something else. And black cherry actually I think was the winner of that. And then it actually carried it. We put it in the freezer and carried it over to the next episode when we had Sharon Padgett on from the YMCA. So it was fun. So how about Holden, Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Cheerwine.
Cheerwine.
Oh, very good. Favorite local restaurant?
Villaroma.
Oh, I love Villaroma. It's close to my house too.
Peter Will.
What time is it?
Yeah, no, right?
No, we're kind of close to Peterville. It's a little too close, actually. Andrea, how about a favorite childhood memory?
Going to the pumpkin patch at Myers Memorial Church and picking out the biggest pumpkin that you could find.
I think we have a picture of I remember our youngest daughter maybe sitting right in the middle of it.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, actually, let me take that back. The duck cemetery. Well, I'm sorry. We call it the duck cemetery, where you go and feed the ducks.
Like Gas Memorial Park.
Exactly, but you can't feed the ducks there anymore.
Yeah, I did that as well growing up. 'Cause we have family. We have family out there.
Holden.
So I spent a lot of summers here, and it was always sitting outside of the bank over in West Gastonia. My grandmother worked at that bank. Okay. Sitting out there, waiting on my other grandmother to pick us up because we went back and forth during the summer.
Oh, that's funny.
There was nothing better than just spending time with them in the summer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So one thing I meant failed to mention before I started this question, this is really what all the other JCs, family, friends, everybody wants to know about you. And this is my question that I throw in every episode. And there's actually only one correct answer. But Holden, I'll start with you on this one. UNC Duke or NC State?
I'm sorry, UNC Duke or NC State? Yeah, Appalachian State all day long.
It's a rule breaker, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely a rule breaker. But Appalachian State, go Mountaineers.
I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
Go Sports.
You can't.
Who rule broke
you
Morse?
can't skip. You can't skip the question. So even if you have any idea, the correct answer is
State.
I chose a state.
Well, Holden, when I seen my daughter graduated last Friday, it was from Appalachian.
Oh, wonderful.
So we had a great, terrific weekend with her up there. So Andrea, I'm gonna stick with you since you are unwilling to answer the questions properly. What is something very few people know about you?
I got the opportunity to go with my, as an alumni, go with my high school at Gaston Day to London to sing at Canterbury Cathedral.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So that was pretty awesome.
Top that.
All right. I was the understudy for Home Alone 3. When they changed the character from Macaulay Culkin to the kid that took it over, I was the second in line to get that job.
Really?
Top that.
That's amazing.
Okay. All right. We're going to have to expand on that one a little bit. I mean, you're talking to a contractor here, so I have no idea. So, yeah, let's give us 60 more seconds of.
I was in a mall in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I had a cowlick at the time, and the talent scout came up and was like, hey, your son looks like he'd be great for this. We're doing auditions. We're changing the main character in Home Alone. And so we went to Chicago for that, and it was wrapped around the United Center. So my parents just ended up throwing our headshot in the box and saying, we wasted our time. And about a month later, we got a call saying, hey, can you come back and read? And so we started doing all that, and they were going to hire me, but this other kid was already part of the Screen Actors Guild, so they didn't have to go through all that transition, and that's why he got it. So,
Wow.
But yeah, I had the whole script and everything.
That's
it's
awesome.
somewhere.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, that might be collectively the two most unique answers we've had in the same episode. We've had some terrific answers to that question, but I'm not sure any more unique than that. I don't know. Should we just stop the episode? Holden, how about a book or something, blog, article, podcast you listen to that might benefit our listeners?
I am reading The Slight Edge right now, and it's a really great book about just being consistent and just doing that incremental things every single day. And while it may not pay off on day 1 or day 50 or 100, it's got that exponential growth, and it's just a fantastic book.
Progress typically happens with those small increments over time. So I have to check that one out. Matter of fact, it might be on my bookshelf.
That's the way I am. I buy
I'm
them
a serial, I'm a serial book buyer, and I've got as many books that I haven't read stashed as I have read. Andrea, how about you?
Always ask, is that another book? Is that what that is?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Dichotomy of Leadership, and it was two.
Jocko Willink.
Yes,
And Leif
two
Babin.
Marines,
Navy SEALs.
Navy SEALs
Yep.
that wrote the book. And honestly, like some of their stuff that they applied and then to play it in a business, I've
Oh, yeah.
actually brought to Steve at the chamber when I was there and said, this is what I learned in this book, that, the top ups have this idea, and when they implement it, sometimes it's not always the best. And so I said, this might not be the best situation. And,
Yeah, it's unique. I mean, we Extreme Ownership with the
Yes.
first book those two wrote, and in fact, Steve is involved and I are involved with a leadership study, and that's the book we're studying right now.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, and on Sunday mornings with my F3 group, insanity that we do every week. So again, that's a great two good options there. So I appreciate that. I'm always looking for my next book to shelve that I might get to. So listen, this has been really good. I appreciate you indulging us on these Gaston County questions. So just a couple more questions before we finish up here. So Holden, I'll make you go first on this next question. Again, kind of being a reminder that this is about Gaston County. Besides the Gaston County Jaycees, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
The people in Gaston County are unique. We're all from humble roots here. We all mostly have grandparents or parents that worked in the mills, and because of that, we were very, very socialized, even within diverse communities. And most folks here are just good, hardworking people. And once you get to know that about them and take away all the other things that society tells us we should be mad at other people about, you can really find such good human beings here.
Oh, that's very thoughtful. Andrea, how would you answer that?
We have hidden gems that people might not know about with our Shield Museum and, the white water that we claim versus the mountains. Gaston College, even go Rhinos. We have our baseball and softball team heading to World Series.
Absolutely.
Like, that's amazing to have that just in our backyard. So.
And if we live here our whole lives, we take some of that stuff for granted.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I grew up on Churchill Drive, or part of my youth on Churchill Drive, the first house right across the street from the Shield Museum. So what's the big deal, right?
Right.
But it is, it actually might be more well known out of Gaston County than
than in
Gaston County. All right, so I say this every episode. This is my favorite question, and I'm going to start with you, Andrea. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
God does things for a reason.
Oh.
And you might not know what that reason is at that point, but it'll eventually show yourself, and to kind of have patience through some things that I've been through in my life recently. Definitely he did these things for a reason. So have patience.
I know that in my life, I just don't want to listen to those reasons.
Right.
I don't, so
I mean, you may think you're going through, tumultuous times, and it's just never going to end, but beautiful things may be produced out of it. Yeah, well,
I've got a mentor that out of Washington State, actually, that I've known for 20 plus years. In fact, Naomi got to meet him a few weeks ago when he was here doing some training with us. But one of his things is no matter how good things are going, this too shall pass. No matter how bad things are going, this too shall pass,
exactly,
right? So,
exactly.
God, that's a hard one, though. Holden, how would you answer that 20-year-old self question?
Listen more, speak less, learn more. I think that younger, brasher Holden had a lot more things to say.
So they both just broke out some Mark Madison, didn't they? Yeah, Mark Madison is the gentleman I'm talking about. He's an author and a speaker, and we had him here for a week doing some training with all of our groups here, and he's kind of philosophical as well, and one of his big things is just shut your mouth and listen more. You're gonna go further. The whole 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Right.
God knew what he was doing there too, right? So I appreciate both of those responses. So, remembering our whole point here today is to bring more awareness, if we can, to the Gaston County Jaycees. So where can our listeners go to learn more, find more out, just anything and everything?
Yeah, we got a Facebook page. They can find us on the Gaston County Jaycees there. That's the place that we update the most often. And then they can also contact us through there. That's probably the best way to get in contact with us. And it'll also have the information of where we're going to be that month.
Okay. Any other social media, or is it just Facebook?
Just Facebook.
Okay.
Until we get the younger generation to introduce us to TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's
we need information on Instagram and TikTok. If you know that, please come join us. See, there we go. Naomi, she's back.
Naomi is a professional, and she is heavily involved in all the social media here at GSM, and she literally Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff that I am just like, so you are. So this has been really good, guys. I appreciate your time. So any last words of wisdom before we close this episode out? Anything you'd like to share?
We just appreciate your time and the ability to speak about Jaycees.
All right.
I appreciate you doing this. This is what our community needs.
Well, thank you. I mean,
more opportunities for
kind of like I said at the beginning, 92 episodes. I'm like, we're going to get to 100.
That is amazing.
That's wild. We've been talking about what we're going to do on episode 100 to make it different. I don't know.
Obviously, ice cream.
Could be. Well,
that's a fantastic idea.
Episode 50, we interviewed 75 is when I interviewed you and Amy. Is that right? And that actually was the most watched episode, wasn't it? Maybe. Yeah. Does that tell me I need to be quiet? All right. So, guys, I really appreciate. Again, I do appreciate what you guys do. The Jaycees is an important organization. The work you do, getting younger people involved. I don't know if there's any other organizations out there that something that comes to mind. Maybe the Next Gen Fund is one. Maybe there might be some, potential JC, people that might not know about the JCs in that group. That's something I've been involved with for a while. I'm the old man advisor now. For that group. Oh, boy. So like I normally do, I'm going to finish with my own book or podcast recommendation for the week and a thought for the week. And this week I'm going back a little bit to a book I read years ago, but it's a really good one on leadership by John Wooden. If you don't know who John Wooden is, I would encourage you to look him up. I would consider him the greatest basketball coach of all time, or at least top 2 or 3. He's won more national championships than anybody. But he wrote a great book called Wooden on Leadership, and it's just a good. We talked about leadership here already today, and that's kind of the underlying probably theme for the JCs too, would be community leadership and having young professionals get involved in the community. But that was a book I would strongly recommend that if you're interested in leadership to look into. And my quote or thought for this week comes from Jerry Rice. If you maybe a little athletic theme this week from my book and my thought. Jerry Rice was again arguably the greatest receiver ever in the NFL. But he said, "Today I do what others won't, so that tomorrow I can accomplish what others don't." So, listen, it takes work. If you want to accomplish anything, whether it's community, whether it's the JCs, whether it's your professional career, whether it's relationships, it doesn't matter. You got to put the work in. And unfortunately, I've tried all the shortcuts, and they just don't. They don't typically pan out, or what I guess we call them hacks today in today's society. It just takes it takes the work to put that in. So, to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking time to join us on today's episode. Please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. Is that right? Did I say that right? We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms that Naomi is in charge of, and they rock. And apparently, again, I say this every episode, but give us a good 5-star rating, helps us get noticed. And please, listeners, share this. And the more that it's shared through your own social media and with your families and friends, the more people are going to learn about the good things in organizations like the JCs that are happening here in Gaston County. Thanks again to Holden and Andrea for being our guests today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Naomi Hunt and Amy Anderson from GSM Services and edited here locally by the Sumner Group. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.